Okay, so last week we have been looking at the mental processes of enlightenment. About that, does anybody have any questions?
Charana,
Yes.
I read before that once a person is enlightened, like the arahat level,
Uh-huh.
if they master the jhanas before, they can achieve some special state when they enter nirvana.
Yes, you mean Nirodha Samapati?
Yes. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so, will you talk about that later?
Yes, that will come, I think, next week.
Okay, nice.
Yes, those are also very interesting mental processes because as we know, also for everybody, as we know that during the lifetime of a person until we attain final nibbana as an arahant, then all the time the mind and metta, well, sometimes the Brahman beings are arupa beings without metta, then only mind. But the mind never stops. It arises and passes away, and then arises, passes away, arises and passes away. It never, never, never stops. But there is only one occasion that where mind, well, two occasions actually. So two occasions where mind will stop for a period of time, but the person is haven't attained the final nibbana yet. So those are little strange cases that are quite interesting as well, where the mind, chitta and cetasika does stop. And so we are going to look at that next week.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you.
Yes, very interesting. Also, there are. Do you remember everybody that before we mentioned about some kind of beings in the Brahma world that they only have rupa, only have material properties, but they don't have mind. So chitta and cetasika does not arise. So for those beings also, for those lifespan, then there will be no mind arising and passing away, only rupa. And so that is one case. And then Nirodha Samapati are those cases for only Anagami and Arahat with jhana that they can attain Nirodha Samapati. So next week we will look at that.
Good. Nirodha Samapati meaning that they can stop the mind.
Suspend.
So very often what they promote as a meditation in the West, like saying, oh, put your mind in blank, actually they're referring to that, but it's already on the jhanas. It is not possible for common worldly beings to do it. So yes, it is possible to stop the mind ceases and there is only matter happening. That's why the people don't experience any kind of suffering. But to promote that for beginners, okay, empty your mind. It's like a traveler on a plane to ask him to drive the plane or something. Okay, you drive now. It is a little bit far possible, but requires a very deep mental control.
Yeah, maybe, probably, when the in those meditations and they said stop the mind from thinking, it could be also possible if the mind is very concentrated with one object. No, that is also possible. But actually, the mind never stops thinking because it's thinking about that object. No?
Yes.
So as Bhante said, if it is totally stopped, then no arising and no passing away of mind, no more object. Because if there is no object, there is no mind. So
Yes.
object is a condition for mind to arise. So whenever there is mind, there is always object. Even in Bhavanga, we have already seen, then they also have their own object. So every chitta that arises must have their own object. So if there is no object, then actually there is no mind. So in those stages where mind does not even arise are only those Nirodha Samapati that Ante just mentioned.
Yes, actually, what an instruction that a meditation teacher could give to someone could be more accurate to say, don't follow the stories that the mind is making. The mind is thinking about the senses around, what it listens, what it sees, or anything, but do not follow the stories of the mind. Then you are actually calming the mind can focus, you can experience peace or even bliss, But to say that the mind stop the mind from thinking, it will be only in very heightened stages of developmental development. Actually, for people who is already enlightened, so they can do so, and still they need special practice to arrive to Nirodha Samapatti, just to stay. The mind is not. It's on the third stage of enlightenment, no, Charana?
Only Anagami, third stage, or an Arahant who has accomplished all the jhanas is possible to attain that.
So you graduate with honors, and then you can
Only
do so.
if you are already enlightened and can reach all the jhanas, then you can do the
For an
Nirodha.
arahant. But if
First stage.
but for a
Third
anagami,
and fourth only.
for a non-returner, it can also master in the jhanas. You have to master it, then you can arrive, and then the mind really stops. But they must make a resolution that okay, they say I will stay 7 days. That's what the teachers advise. Don't stay more than 7 days, because your body is not eat. You will not eat. You will not stand. You will just stay like a statue. The body will stay like a statue. And for monks, we have a rule that if someone decides to go into deep meditation, it won't be longer than 7 days, so that you don't risk your own physical health, because the mind is not there. It's not happening really. It's kind of in a pause, and your body is still there, and they consider dangerous after 7 days of no water, no food, and just staying there. Or if in the time of the Buddha, if the Buddha call me, I will wake up. Or if there is or if the Buddha or the Sangha call me, or if there is a fire in the monastery. If you are in deep meditation, no mind, but suddenly the sense feels something, then you wake up for your own safety.
How would you know that 7 days have passed already?
Apparently they know. They make the resolution since before. I am not sure about the details, but apparently the people do the resolution, even with jhanas. Teachers often, we have heard instructions that tell the meditation to make the resolution. How long will you stay? Now, for general meditators as us, Sealuta Genia do not advise to make resolution, or I will sit for 1 hour without moving, because through many years and thousands of yogis, he has seen that having a time is sometimes you open a little bit the eye to see the clock, and not yet. So you are worrying about the time. Seattle says, don't worry. If you are comfortable, sit. If you are not comfortable, stand. Don't force the meditation, because very often, as we are sitting, we are mostly thinking about the time. Is it time yet? We open the eye, no, not yet. 15 minutes, and then you're like, 14 minutes, 13 minutes. Oh, then you're not really meditating. So teacher says, do not put a clock in front of you. Don't use time. Let the mind go natural, because sometimes you may be very calm and happily meditating, and then the bell rings when it is 45 minutes or 1 hour. Then you block your thing. It says, you feel comfortable, maybe you stay 3 hours. The mind is really at peace and you're really learning, go ahead. The body gets tired, you are hurting already, change position. You change position, still hurting, then go walk. You go walk, you feel tired, you go sit. You lie down, you study a little bit. Let the process be a natural one. Okay, Charana, so we can start. I think we are set up. Now everything is there. So
Okay, so let's pay respect to the Buddha.
Okay, let's pay respect, remembering our teachers and their teachers, many generations to the back, with gratitude for all what they left us. Please do so as you feel. Feel free. It's not a ritual. It's just an act of gratitude and respect and remembrance of our teachers. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava araham sammasambuddho. Vichacharana sampano sugato lokavidum. Anutaro purisa dhamma sarati. Satta deva manusanam buddho bhagavati. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. homage to the blessed one, to the sublime, the victorious one over the ignorance and negativity of the mind, the safe, self-enlightened one, Samma Sambuddha. Okay, thank you everyone. Let's start. Yes.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Today we're going to continue with a little bit more details about the mental processes and also about mental feelings, which has to do with mental process. So let's start. Yes, so last time we have been, one more click please. We have been talking about the enlightenment processes and also the review processes and the sustained attainment. Like if you remember, the enlightenment processes are those magga. When the person gets enlightened, that the process, what happens in his mind. So magga will arise, phala will arise, as we have seen last week. I think you still remember. And then the review process are those processes that happens after the enlightenment process, which is after magga process. Then it reviews about magga, it reveals about phala, reveals about nibbana, reveals about what kind of defilements have been eradicated and what kinds of defilements are still left to be eradicated in the future. Yes? Then the sustained attainment are those enlightenment process, are those processes which an enlightened person, he later on wants to access nibbana again. And so those kind of processes will happen like the jhana process, like sustained process, but this one is with phala. So in a specific determined time within that period, then there will be phala chittas arising all the time throughout that determined period in the mind of that enlightened person. So he is experiencing the nibbana object for a longer period of time, experiencing those peace and with that very nice object. Okay, so about the enlightenment process, that's mostly that's all about it. So today we're going to look at a little bit more details concerning Vedana, about the jhana mental process and the magga mental process. So Alex, please. Okay, so let's see. The jhana mental process, so we have seen that there is the first attainment process, and then later there is the sustained attainment process. So we're going to look at a little bit about the Vedana of these processes. So before we start with this, for last week about those mental processes that we have looked at, about review and also about enlightenment and about phala samapatti, sustained enlightenment, sustained phala process. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No.
No, everything is okay?
Sí.
Okay, so let's go ahead with today's content then. Alex, please. Now, we have seen that in the jhana mental first process, this process we have already seen before. The first attainment, that means the first time when a person attained any kind of jhana. It can be first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, rupa or arupa, doesn't matter. So in this case, the red ones, which are the jhana process, here in those mental processes only 5 jhanas. No? Then 4 of them are kusala jhana, which is the preparation. Yes? So then, please. Then, now the detail is that if these 4 is, this kusala jhana is with somanasa vedana, with pleasant mental feeling, then please. Then the jhana also, this jhana chitta will also be somanasa. So that means that in the same process here, all the jhanas will have the same kind of vedana, same kind of mental feeling. So if it is somanasa, then it is somanasa also. Okay, next. Then if the kusala jhana here in this case, the preparation time, if it is upeka, that means if this these chittas are with upeka vedana, then again, those jhana will also be with upeka feeling. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that makes sense, no? Okay, so let's go ahead. Then especially, what kind of cases will that be would that be with upekkha? Surely that is in the fifth rupa vachara and also arupa vachara. Do you remember? And in the first jhana, second jhana, and third jhana, and fourth jhana, then the mental factors. The mental factors with piti, sukha, ekagata. I mean, vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata. No, so with piti and with piti, it's always with piti and sukha. It's always with somanasa because it is. Remember what is piti?
Joy.
Joy, yes. So sukha is the happy feeling, no? So with piti and with sukha, with joy, so always the mental feeling will be somanasa, will be pleasant. Then in the fifth jhana, then only the jhana factors with only upekkha and ekagata, no? So in this case, there will be no piti and no sukha, and so also these chittas will only be associated with upekkha feeling. So that's why in the fifth jhana, then all these kusala javana, the first four preparation, and also the jhana chitta is with upekkha feeling. Okay?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead. It's only some just details. Then in the jhana absorption processes, the samapati, jhana viti also is the same. So if the four of them is with somanasa, then all the jhanas that follows is also with somanasa. And in the same way, again, if it is upekkha, then all those other jhanas, chittas that come later on is also with upekkha. So especially in the fifth rupa vachara jhana and the arupa vachara jhana. Okay, so here no problem. No, okay, so let's go ahead. Now, in the Magga mental process, basically is just the same thing. So let's, Alex, please.
Yeah.
Yes, in the same way, in the Magga process, now we are not in jhana anymore. So in the Magga process, we have 7 javanas here, no? So in the 4 preparation, kusala javana, then we have 1 Magga and then 2 phala. So if the kusala javana is with somanasa, then Magga and Phala will also be with Somanasa, those Lokutara Javana. No? Here we have a Kamavachara. The first 4 is Kamavachara, still sense sphere, wholesome chittas, those 4. So if it is with Somanasa, then those super mundane chittas, Magga and Phala, will also be Somanasa. Okay, let's go ahead. Then in the Phala Samapati, sustained attainment of Phala thought processes, then is also the same. If it is with Somanasa, those preparation for Anuloma, then later on, all the Phalas also. Alex, please. Thank you. So all the Phala that comes after will also be with Somanasa feeling. Because if you remember in the first chapter, when we looked at chittas, Phala and Magga and also jhana chittas, they can also be associated with upekkha and also can be associated with somanasa. So in what cases, when does this Phala associate with somanasa, or when does it associate with upekkha? And so now here we are talking about these little details. If the preparation is with somanasa, then later on also somanasa. If it is with upekkha, then later on also upekkha.
Okay.
Okay, then about this, until here, it's quite easy to understand, no? No problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so now, why are we looking at the Vedanas? Because actually, it is quite interesting. It has something to do with the nature of how the mind, how the mental process, and how the mind works. And so in the Abhidhamma Sangha chapter 4, now we are in chapter 4, there is a little section about tadārammaṇa. It's called tadārammaṇa niyama. So the procedures about tadārammaṇa. So what it deals with is that which tadārammaṇa, do you still remember tadārammaṇa? Yeah. Those are the, well, now we are going to look into details. So those chittas that arises at the end of the mental process, if the object is very clear. No? Now we'll go into a little bit more details. So which tadārammaṇa follows which jhāvana, and we're going to look at, and also we're going to look at which tadārammaṇa arises with regard to which type of objects. Okay, so let's go into another page. Now, first we have to remember and we have to understand that tadārammaṇa only happens in kamavachara sense sphere, only happens in sense sphere. So for 5 material plane and non-material plane, no tadārammaṇa arises there in any kind of mental process. It only arises in the 4 lower planes and the human planes and the deva planes, only in kamavachara. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And also, when a person, it only happens in karma beings. So the beings, Brahma beings with Rupa beings or Arupa beings, they will not arise, tadārammaṇa will not arise in their mind. So only beings in the sense sphere, such as the beings in the lower plane, humans or devas, when they are observing and sense object, then in those times, when the jhavanas are taking a sense object with sense sphere jhavanas, that means not enlightenment jhavanas, only those, enlightenment is also possible. Let's say that not jhana, okay? So when it is taking a sense object and jhavana, sense jhavana, then tadārammaṇa can arise. Okay, so now let's go a little bit further. Now, looking at the mental processes, and it will become a little bit more clear. When a karma being, so let's say a human being or a deva or being in the lower realm, so any being in the sense sphere, sense realm, when they take a sense object, let's say visual object, sight object, sound, taste, or touch, any kind of this sense object with a mind or mental process or with eye door mental process, ear door mental process, or 5 senses mental processes, when they take these objects, which are very clearly presented to the mind, that this titi, the little green balls and at the end of jhavana, this tadārammaṇa will arise in him. We have looked at this before. Do you still remember?
Yep.
Yeah, so okay, until here it's okay, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, so let's go ahead to look a little bit about object. So today in this section, we are going to look at this tadārammaṇa, what happens with them. Now, depending on a few kind of conditions that this tadārammaṇa will arise or it will not arise. And also depending on a few conditions and what kind of tadārammaṇa will arise there, it's also specified by the Buddha. He explained about what happened. So now the first condition is actually has to do with objects itself. So we have already talked about that it must be a sense object, yes? Okay, so among sense, now we'll talk, keep tadārammaṇa in your mind for a little while, and then I will move to objects for a little bit, and then we will come back to tadārammaṇa, okay?
Okay.
Now, about objects, before also we have looked at there are different kinds of objects. So let's go and take a little look about different kinds of objects. Before we have seen that among objects, we can divide them into disagreeable object or agreeable object and very agreeable object. Do you still remember?
Yes.
Like those objects, like when we see something or when we smell something or when we taste something that is not so agreeable, not so nice. Or when we meet some objects which are very pleasant to the eye, good taste, good smell, and good feeling, then those are agreeable objects. So we have these two kind of different objects, yes? So one may say, before also we have discussed a little bit about this, so how to decide whether an object is agreeable or whether it is disagreeable? Because depending on a person, sometimes we may say that this is quite agreeable, but some person may say that for me it is not. So how to decide whether it is agreeable or not? In the commentaries, the teachers they explain that. Alex, please, another slide. They explain that whether an object is agreeable or not, we should look at an average person, meaning that a person that is not neither very poor or neither very rich, let's say. For example, if it is a person who is very poor, then maybe a more or less okay object will be a very agreeable object for him. And for a very rich person, even a very, very nice object might not be so good or so agreeable for him. Yes. So most of the time we'll look at an object to see whether it's agreeable or not, depending on how an average person feels about that object. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so there are other conditions also to decide whether an object is agreeable or not. Okay, so let's go to another slide. Now, a hot tea, a hot lemon tea, will be very agreeable if, let's say, can you press the slide, please, Alex? If the weather is cold. So in a very, very hot day, it might not be so agreeable, right? So depending on conditions, even the same thing, also it can be, sometimes its quality can change. Now, in another example, let's say some flowers, yes? So please, one more. Sometimes an object, whether it's agreeable or not, it also can be defined according to the different doors. For example, some very nice flowers, it can be very agreeable to the eye. Yes?
Yeah.
Alex, please?
Sure.
But sometimes it can smell bad. Have you ever seen some flowers that they look really beautiful, but it doesn't smell good?
Yes.
So in this case, depending on the door, then for the eye, it is agreeable, but for the nose, it is not so agreeable. So there are different kinds of situations or conditions that we can define whether the object is agreeable or not. Okay, let's go to another slide. Also, some teachers say on the other way round, we can also decide whether an object is agreeable or not depending on the theta that arises with it. When we looked at this before, we have already seen with disagreeable object, Alex, please, always the eye or the ear consciousness or the nose consciousness or the touch consciousness that take this object is always an akusala vipaka and unwholesome resultant. Remember?
Yes.
Because due to some kind of unwholesome actions that we have done before, then in this time, those resultant consciousness of those unwholesome actions arises in the mind, and it encounters its object that is that matches the quality of it. No. So when if we look at the theta, if the theta is akusala vipaka, then surely those objects are disagreeable objects. Now, on the other hand, if the object is agreeable, or very agreeable, then what kind of resultant would that be?
Kusala.
Kusala, yes. So Alex, please. So in case that the theta that arises in the mind, the eye consciousness, or the ear, or the nose, or this consciousness, is that if they are kusala vipaka, then surely the object is agreeable, can be decided as agreeable object or very agreeable object. So there are many different situations where to consider whether the object is agreeable or not. Because if we decide amount personal, like I prefer this or I don't prefer this, or some people may think this is agreeable, some people might think this is not agreeable, then it is very difficult to say, no? But if the teachers, they explain that generally we can decide whether an object is agreeable or not depending on those conditions that we just saw, depending on an average person, and depending on the conditions on weather and many different kinds of situations, and also on the doors, whether it is to be experienced by the eyes or by the nose or other things, or whether it is what kind of chitta takes those objects. Until here, it's okay?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Sharon, is this also all related to kama, I guess, right? Like, for example,
Yes.
if I see like a disagreeable object.
Mhm.
At the same time, another person looks at it, but for this person is agreeable. It could be like because of cheetah cause or the different cheetahs that arise in our minds are making this object agreeable or disagreeable.
Now, yes. So here it is a very interesting point, because first we have to separate that this agreeable or disagreeable that we are talking about is the intrinsic nature of this object. Yes.
Okay.
So not whether it is agreeable in the sense of whether I like it or not.
Okay.
Because those processes come later on. So, for example, if an object itself it's not agreeable, then later on in the let's say a sight, something that looks not nice. So in itself, the object is something disagreeable. So the chakku viññāna, which is the eye consciousness that takes that, is an akusala vipaka. So that is because of karma, like Alex just said, because of karma. So the other person who sees the same thing, for him also is an akusala vipaka as well, because both see those undesirable object, which in itself is an undesirable object. So the eye consciousness that arises in oneself or in the other person are both akusala vipaka, because we both see that. So it's due to some kind of actions that we done before. Now, after that process, as you remember, the eye door process is only very fast, very quickly pass away. No, then other mind door process arises. Now the mind thinks, oh, this object is not nice. I don't like it, or I get angry about it, or like this. So that depends on ourselves.
Okay.
On our previous development
yes.
and tendency, and also ignorance. For a person who is experiencing akusala vipaka, ignorance will make him even feel that it's a pleasurable object,
yes.
although it's
so he might like it.
causing him harm. The same happens with addictions, the same happens with many things. Ignorance is the fact that really changes and makes us see good in bad, but that will come later on. But our kusala or akusala vipaka is showing us that. Also, in terms of ignorance, we might be ignorant about reality, and we might be experiencing something really beautiful, the goodness, we witness the goodness of somebody else, and our ignorance or interest will be like, we didn't saw it, so we didn't grow, we didn't felt this deeper happiness, then ignorance will be a big player on that thing, or our previous tendency. Because it's all relative. Sorry, Charana, it's all relative, because for poor people, the waste of the rich people will be gold. So how do you know? But we are coming to this point. We will see. Charana, did you went to the middle point and think already? Not yet, no?
The average person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Already
Yes,
went to
we
the
have
average
average
person.
person
Okay,
already.
okay. Okay. Yes, Charana, please,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Does sanya influence the agreeableness of an object?
No. The agreeable or disagreeable object, whether intrinsically this object is agreeable or not agreeable, disagreeable, comes in the quality of the object, no, or the conditions to make it, no. So sanya is how we look at the thing, so how we observe that comes a little bit later. Sanya, of course, also happens even in the eye consciousness, in the other consciousness, no. But like as Bante said, that how sanya influence is like we see this thing as good or we see this thing as not good, then comes, then we like it or then we don't like it. It comes later, but it does not change the quality of whether this object is good or not.
Yes, fair. Just as a reminder, let's get that the quality of sanya is like that of a lens. The lens of a camera doesn't know what it's seeing. Actually, sanya is just the door, is the thing that opens the senses to the mind. Then later the mind, whatever the mind do with what it perceives, is just a perception. Without any sanya is neutral. It just passes information through the eyes, through the ears, through the nose, etc. and then whatever reaction the mind has, be it kusala or akusala, then that will be what will taint or color the object as good one, bad one, with a prejudice based on our
Now-
previous experiences or mental habits. Is it
Now,
clear?
also
One
another.
Yes, sir.
who is like making marks on a thing
Yes.
to remember later,
Yes.
like memory.
Yes.
Yes, it makes marks.
Is
Fernando,
its
also
function.
there is one point, because now your question is whether sanya change the quality of the object or not. No, in that case it doesn't. But sanya does change. Sanya, there is something that is called sanya vipalasa, which is the perversion of sanya.
Perversion
So
of-
how of perception, how we see the things. So we see the things wrongly, not correctly. Only a totally enlightened person, he always see things correctly, no? But because we are not enlightened yet, so sometimes we see things in the wrong way. So that sanya vipalasa, that perversion of perception, does change the javanas. It influences how we react to the object, but it does not change the object itself.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Fair.
I understand.
Yes, as a function, sanya leaves a mark for later on. It's kind of related to memory. So it says dog and it says dog, but it will actually say hair and tail and teeth and nose, and then later will be a dog as a concept. But sanya, it does also leaves a mark, but it's also the function is to perceive information from the senses.
Oh,
And when we see things not in a correct way, because sanya are not very trustworthy sometimes, so we may see something, and then because of that, then the mind is being influenced by it, and then say, oh, this is so nice, I like it, and loba may arise. Oh, this is so bad, I don't like it, and anger might arise. So it can, the perversion of the sanya of perception can influence how we react to an object.
Perversiones de la percepción. Anda que no. Por si queríamos un topic. Like perversions of perception. Perverted perception based on ignorance generally, bro.
thank you.
Okay, yes. Any other questions?
Today we have a group like this.
One side.
Pero está muy chiquito. Yes, nobody? Nobody? No, Charana, we
Okay,
can
so
continue.
we continue.
Yes.
Okay, so now then we have seen about disagreeable object and agreeable object, and that's quite easy to know, yeah? Now, in the side of the agreeable object, there are two separation. One is called agreeable object, and another one is called very agreeable object. So now let's make it a little bit to see what kind of difference there is. Now, if we take the smell as
Did
an
you
object, as an example,
You catch this pigment? It's a little baby and someone is kind of blowing and the baby is like this. You see the eyes and the mouth is smiling, but
nice touch.
nice touch. So he's touching the baby and the baby is like, oh, nice. Eating salad, beautiful sunset, and smelling flowers. So this is agreeable object.
Yes, also sound also is possible, but I didn't put the sound here. But anyway, so let's take a smell as an example. So maybe sometimes when we pass by walking in the guayabos,
Huele de noche.
walk through.
Jasmine.
What?
Jasmines, Charana, jasmine.
Yes, it's because when I speak and when you speak, then the Zoom makes a little cut of sound, so I didn't catch what you said.
Okay.
It's okay. Okay, so when we walk past by some kind of flowers, then sometimes then there is a good smell, or but maybe we are not so attracted to it or something. So it's a pleasant thing, then it is quite okay. But sometimes it can be something that wow, that it smells so good. No, also it's possible. So there are some kinds of difference. Alex, can you please press the button? Now. Here, I put this photo because sometimes, let's say, in the same way, a good smell, a flower, it's a good smell. Sometimes it's okay, it's quite agreeable. But sometimes if we are sick and then we have an essence oil, lavender or anything, tea tree or something, then you can put it into the hot water, and then it smells good and it helps your health and everything. So in that case, it could be a very agreeable object. Yes, so it's the same. It's just a smell, but sometimes it is like a very agreeable, or sometimes it's just normally agreeable.
Like
Okay.
average agreeable.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So also sometimes, for example, if we take rice, I'm in Asia, so I say rice, or maybe tortillas, let's say. So if we take a tortilla,
Hecha a mano.
it's we take a tortilla, it's quite okay. It's, of course, it's not something bad. It is agreeable, but the feeling that we have towards just a plain tortilla maybe is just normal. No, it's not so much like yay, wow. No, it's tortilla. But sometimes, if it is a tortilla with cheese and then with tomato and then with everything or something, then it could be more agreeable. So sometimes, let's say, especially when we are very hungry. So depending, some things can be agreeable or can be very agreeable, also depending on how we, the situation or many things that is added to it. Both are taste. Yes, both are taste. A plain tortilla also is good because it is something that is good. But maybe we'll take it with upeka feeling, no? Just an average feeling. But if it is a tortilla handmade, grilled in the charcoal and with many kinds of different ingredients and also cheese and tomato and all kinds of things, then it might be the same thing that fills our stomach, but maybe it could be a very agreeable object.
We had a teacher from Indonesia of Abhidhamma, and he will describe this like when you go to a buffet. Sometimes if you like barbecue with the friends, maybe you see the meat or something, and it's like and then you see the potato. How we say it? Potatoes, mashed potatoes, and you say, oh, okay, I take mashed potatoes, but then the meat is like So it will be like very agreeable object and standard neutral. Yes, it's agreeable, but you will go, maybe you will be looking to the sausages. I mean, talking in general terms, no?
Yeah. Yes, so maybe you take mashed potatoes with upeka filling, and then you take the sausage or the meat with somanasa filling, no?
Yes, Charana.
Okay. Yes. So let's go to another example. Also, the teacher says that for a Buddhist, then the Buddha image may be a very, very agreeable object. But for someone who is not a Buddhist, maybe it's not such an agreeable object also possible, no? Okay, then let's change. One more example that the teachers give. Let's say for a young man, then a lady or a very beautiful young lady may be a very agreeable object. That maybe for a lady, another lady might not be such an agreeable object. So it depends. So anyway, these are the differences between agreeable and non-agreeable. Very agreeable. Okay, let's go ahead. Now, why are we talking about these objects? It has to do with tadārammaṇa. Now we have to come back to tadārammaṇa and augment feelings as objects. So the things that we have been looking at today, now we have to put them together. Now, let's say if an object is a disagreeable object, so in the 5 Doha mental processes, that it will happen, nose consciousness will arise. Yes. So let's Alex, please. Or Bante.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So in this case, those nose consciousness, receiving consciousness, and investigating consciousness in Pali is Gana Vijnana, Sampatichana, and Santirana. Those will be akusala vipaka, as we have seen, because it is a disagreeable object. So those consciousness that receive it will be an resultant of unwholesome actions. Okay? Now, please, one more. Now, those tadārammaṇa that is going to arise if this object is very clear in the mind is also going to be the same akusala vipaka. But in this case, this tadārammaṇa is tadārammaṇa is a function. Yes? So what kind of citta arise here will be actually an akusala vipaka santirana. Santirana with the tadārammaṇa function.
You remember that? Yes, tadārammaṇa, after we experience the senses, then we react to it. This is the active side of the mind. We plant kusala or akusala seeds, and then tadārammaṇa is like licking the fingers of the same moment. It's the aftertaste before the mind goes back to sleep. So the mind already did its job. It perceived something, it judged it, planted a seed, I like it, I don't like it, or neutral, and then it tastes for the last time and then goes back to sleep to wake up again whenever the senses react. So this is what's happening in tadārammaṇa. Here, the aftertaste before going the mind to sleep is closing the mind to go to bhavanga, to wake up again, to attend to the senses. Yes, Charana.
Yes. So if the object is very clear, tadārammaṇa will arise. And here the main point is that tadārammaṇa is actually is also a vipaka citta, which is an akusala. In the case of akusala vipaka, what is going to happen, I mean, what kind of citta will take the place of tadārammaṇa, will take the function of tadārammaṇa, is actually the same as santirana here, is the same. This is the same kind of citta. Akusala vipaka will happen here as tadārammaṇa. If the object is very clear, after jhavana, two of these tadārammaṇa will happen. And the actual citta is santirana. Yes? So as we have seen, maybe you will still remember, or maybe you maybe remember or maybe don't remember. But anyway, Bante, please, one more. So most of the, all of the akusala vipaka.
Vipaka, you remember, is just the result and the fruit of previous action. Yes.
It's always with upeka feeling.
Neutral. We receive neutral. Later we react, either good or bad, but we always receive neutrality. That's very shocking.
With neutral feeling.
Shocking.
So all this akusala vipaka is with neutral feeling. So therefore, this tadārammaṇa is also with neutral feeling.
So you can see it reinforces the question of Alex before. As the mind perceives something, it has no color, it's neutral. Later on, it becomes, I like it or I dislike it, but actually nature, and this is very shocking because in reality, every time we have perceived something in our lives, the mind just got it neutral. What we did with it was the problem. And that's very nice, very hopeful, because here is where we can change things. Here we cannot change, fortunately. If it came already with hatred there, then we are lost. We will just experience hatred naturally, but it is actually a reaction. So we have a possibility to guide the mind towards a better place. Yes, Charana.
Okay, so let's go to another, the next. Now, in the mental process later on that happens, it is in the same way. If it is a disagreeable object, then those tadārammaṇa, in the same way, it's going to be akusala vipaka santirana with tadārammaṇa function, also with upeka mental feeling.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Yes.
Now, if the object is an agreeable object, please, Bante. In this case, one more. Those cittas that receive it is what?
Kusala vipaka, the
Kusala
fruit of good
vipaka,
action,
no?
previous good action.
So it is kusala vipaka, meaning that because of our good previous action, then we perceive some kinds of good objects. Yes. Now, in the same way, those tadārammaṇa, like those in akusala vipaka, is going to be in the same correspondence. Also here, it is going to be kusala vipaka with tadārammaṇa function. Now, which kind of citta perform the function of tadārammaṇa here? Let's take a look. It's going to be kusala vipaka santirana, the rootless santirana. But remember that also for good kusala vipaka, for good resultant, wholesome resultant, there are two types of resultant. Sometimes it is rootless, like those ones that are eye consciousness or ear consciousness and those. And there are those that are mahavipaka, which are those ones with roots. So we used the symbol of the icon of a flower and also those with the fruits. So we have seen this already in previous chapters, so we won't repeat too much here. But here, this tadārammaṇa could be possible. Any of these two types of citta can take the function of tadārammaṇa here in case of kusala vipaka.
Okay.
Okay, so now the feeling that, Bante, please go back, not here yet.
Okay, sorry.
Oops.
Okay.
One more. One more.
One more?
Yes, and stop. Okay, now the nose consciousness and receiving consciousness is always with upekkha feeling, no? So that's okay, no problem. But in kusala vipaka, previously we have seen that in kusala vipaka santirana, it could be somanasa or it could be vipaka. It could be somanasa or it could be upekkha feeling.
Happy,
now
happy
here,
feeling or equanimity feeling?
It could be, yes, with mental pleasant feeling or with mental neutral feeling. Now, if it is an agreeable object, then in this case, the teachers explained that, like we said with the tortilla, the plain tortilla, then although it is an agreeable object, but it is averagely agreeable, so we take it with a neutral feeling, not especially happy or joyful or pleasant feeling about it. So in this case, this santirana is also with upekkha feeling. Now, in this case, if this is also with, and if it is an agreeable object, then this santirana also upekkha, and those tadārammaṇa will also be with upekkha feeling. Okay?
Yes.
Then no problem here. So let's go one more. When the object becomes a very agreeable object, then here it comes the change. Then this santirana, which receive it, after receiving it, then the investigating consciousness is going to be with somanasa.
Here the mind starts like liking it because it's agreeable. That will influence whatever happens
agreeable.
here.
But this is the nature of the mind. Although it is a very agreeable object, the mind can still get angry about it. So it does not directly influence it. But because the nature of the thing is really good, so the receiving consciousness, it's not receiving, sorry, the investigating consciousness is a kusala vipaka with somanasa, because the nature of the thing is good. Although the person in the jhana might really get angry about it, might not like it, or anything can happen here, because this is depend on us, depends on our wisdom, depends on our practice. So that's okay first. Now let's not look at the jhana yet. Let's look at only those that we cannot change yet. Yeah.
Yes.
So here, tadārammaṇa also, in this case, if the object is very agreeable, it's going to be with somanasa. Okay? Now we might say that, why are we talking about looking at these things, and what does it have to do? So because after that, it's coming something interesting, but we have to understand how the mind naturally works first. So this is like the basic information of how the mind arises with what kind of mental feeling. Then later on, it will come. And why we have to know about this, okay?
Okay.
Now, in the same way, in the mind or mental process also, if the object is a very agreeable object, then it doesn't matter what kind of jhana happens, then the tadārammaṇa will comes with a somanasa function. Somanasa vedana with tadārammaṇa function, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now let's go a little bit further. Now here comes, like, whether an object is agreeable or disagreeable, actually, we cannot change. It's kind of fixed.
Reality throws us good and bad, agreeable and disagreeable, based on our previous scenes.
Yes, okay, so Bante, please. So, what kind of tadārammaṇa arise, or what kind of smell consciousness, eye consciousness, receiving consciousness, investigating consciousness? What kind of consciousness arise there? We have actually no say. No, so it's just a natural process. It happens because of its own natural process. We cannot do anything about it. Now, what we can do, what depends on us is, please, Bante, those jhana. Whether we react to this agreeable object or disagreeable object with kusala or with akusala in the jhana process, then this depends on us, and it is changeable. There is no lock there, no, you see. Mm-hmm. So this is actually important. Now, please, one more. This is very important because this is actually where we plant seeds, and depending on this kind of actions, this kind of seeds, depending on this jhana, later on, what we are going to experience, those things that cannot be changed, those resultant is going to happen. So if we plant good seeds, then good result is going to happen. If we plant bad seeds, then bad result is going to happen. So now, if we have already planted good results, good seeds, and a good result is happening, or if we have planted bad seeds and bad result is happening, that we already cannot change. But what kind of attitude we take towards what we are experiencing, that's most important. Okay.
So we actually, even for the logs, apparently what we cannot do nothing, we did already. We planted in the past, so what we're experiencing, so we cannot really complain about our experience, especially with the bad one. And with the good one, we can see in our own lives, being so fortunate with the kind of life we have, definitely we did good in previous life, and in this life also some decisions has brought us to this situation. Yes, Charana?
Yes, one more please. Now, as we remember that kusala, whether we react with loba, with dosa, or with wisdom, or with kusala, or with moha, so these kind of different chitas associate with different kinds of mental feeling. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, little bit memory test. What kind of chitta that can happen? Kusala or akusala, no? Within this what we have seen before. What kind of mental chittas can arise with somanasa feeling? I read again.
Usted.
Nobody remember? Okay, then I'll give you.
Wait, coming, Diego.
Aloba, adosa, amoja.
Aloba, adosa, amoja, says Diego.
Loba.
Loba also can happen with somanasa feeling.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay, very good. So with kusala, in the case of kusala, then mahakusala, 8 kind of mahakusala, no? 8 kind of mahakusala, 4 associate with somanasa, and the other 4 associate with upeka. Yes. So if we like Diego said, if we react with mahakusala, so it's with aloba and adosa, surely they're always there. Then amoha, sometimes there, sometimes not. But anyway, that is also included in kusala. So it can also associate with somanasa. Perfect. Now, the other one, as Carol said, no?
Yes.
And loba. So loba mula chitta.
Happy.
Loba mula chitta also possible. Also 8 kinds, no? Also 4 associated with somanasa. They really happily having greed about the thing, no? So also possible. And the other 4 associate with upeka feeling. So loba also possible.
And what Carol mentioned, what Carol mentioned is the source of the problem. Desire slave us, but we like it because we experience somanasa. We are happy about feeling desire. We are happy about searching about things. That is the source of the problem. We confuse happiness with unwholesomeness. We like it and we want it and we like to like. One of the things that loba desires the most is itself, to continue liking. It doesn't matter if it gets what it wants. It just wants again and again. And actually, it is proven neurologically that, for example, with porn addiction or shopping, the people is more interested about novelty than the thing itself. It doesn't matter. The thing is new, and the mind likes new. The best thing that desire likes is new, because it is also proven biochemically that whenever we experience something new, we release dopamine. So we get another shot and another shot. That's why Facebook, the likes are so addictive. The small videos, it doesn't matter to see the video. You just want the novelty of it. You saw it. If it is 5, I just heard about a new application that is being used by young people. It's called TikTok or something, and it's videos of 5 seconds or something like that. They are decreasing because what they need is the dopamine shot. It's really like an addiction. It's like really shot and another shot and a shot. And in the internet, you just press and move forward, and you get pictures, new, dopamine. My dear family, we are reaching to the edge of addiction because we like, and that's precisely because of this somanasa that is mixed in the consciousness with the pleasant physical feeling. We are screwed, my dear family. We are hooked. And the companies knows it. I mean, we have done it. Based on our preferences, we like short videos because we just get the shot and let it be. We don't care about the information really. So we are reaching to the core of addiction. Like the experiment with the rat, you remember? That they put a rat in a cage where the floor, I mean, it's cruel, I know, but they did this experiment. The floor gives electroshocks, but then the rat presses, they put a electrode in the brain of the rat, how you say? Giving a taste of dopamine, let's say. It inspires. ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say?
Triggers the dopamine.
It triggers dopamine. So the little rat needs to press the button and it gets dopamine, but it also gets a shock. When the rat gets the shock without dopamine, of course it doesn't press the shot, but then the rat gets dopamine and it continues pressing the shot until it dies. It forgets to eat. Even it forgets to eat, they put another little beautiful young rat, female, and it doesn't care. It wants the dopamine and continue until the rat dies. I mean, it's unbelievable. My dear family, our phones are doing something similar. We want dopamine, like, oh, dopamine. I wonder what this will change new generations that born with this technology. We didn't. We got it recently, but young children, they are used to that addiction already. So I want to see from now, when these children are in charge of the world, pressing buttons is very easy. There are some buttons that are more dangerous than others, so I worry a little bit. But anyway, yes, Charana. Samsara is tough. Samsara sucks. So I told you about this. I have a project. I will make some T-shirts that says Samsara sucks, and in the back, but there is hope. So I really know Buddhists will love it. Samsara sucks, but there is a way. It's on the plans of marketing of Pañagumis. Do you know some, how you say this? Serigrafía. Do you know, if you know somebody, please let us know. Charana, yes, Charana. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So what we have been talking about is that the things that we cannot change, but there are things that we can change. So it is depending very much on our reactions, no, to whatever kind of experience we are experiencing, we cannot change. But how we react to it, the attitude towards it, it can be changed. So these ones, this depends on what the teachers mostly say depends on yoniso manasikara. That means wise attention. So if we have wise attention, then we are looking at the things in the correct way. Then we have more possibility to react it with kusala, or to be learning. No, then otherwise, then always akusala will happen, and finding more bad seeds and more bad results will happen. Now, okay, so this is the important part of our practice. Let's go back a little bit about more information about how the mind works. Now, until here, it is about tadārammaṇa, then it's quite clear, no? I think. Any questions about it?
Yes, Caro has a question.
Yo tengo una pregunta.
Yes.
Yes.
Ese proceso de resultado vipaka también es igual para los reinos que están como petas, animales por más abajo. O sea, el resultado del akusala vipaka también es upeka. O ahí sí ha ido manasa.
Charana.
It's always with yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So well, let me see, because I didn't hear very well. So you mean that for lower beings, for the beings of lower planes,
Lower
that
planes,
those
yes.
kusala vipaka also happens with upeka
With
being,
Upeka,
right?
yes, that's the question precisely.
Yes. If you remember that we have looked at the chitas, akusala vipaka chitas. Akusala vipaka chitas always it's rootless. Remember? So it does not associate with any kind of roots. It does not associate with lobha, nor, although it is akusala vipaka, it does not associate with lobha, dosa, or moha. It is rootless. Of course, it does not associate with lobha, dosa, and moha. No? And also the feelings is always upeka. Because as Bhante previously a little bit explained, if if those resultant consciousness comes together with domanassa, then that means that the person is always angry, and so he has no chance to get out of it. So he cannot change. He cannot become better. So in nature, those things comes in with neutral feeling. Then how we react to it, then it depends on us.
The problem is that those people is definitely getting very unagreeable objects constantly. So they have much more possibility to get angry, suffering, sad, anxious, stressed, fearful, because of it is low. And actually in the human realm, there is people who suffer much more than us. There is people who, they are children, unfortunately, or adults, that they don't know if they're gonna be beaten today. Really. They don't know if they're gonna be, if the husband or wife is coming and they're gonna beat the children. There are people already living in this kind of conditions. Yes, nature will give what they already saw. It is happening because of previous, maybe they also were violent to someone else. So nature is just giving the fruit that they saw, is coming as a neutral, but they of course will have much more possibilities. Just the thought of it will be fearful already, akusala, akusala, akusala. And as Charana says, it's important to know that fortunately, nature is not locked. The whole thing is not locked. Otherwise, if it was locked in goodness, if we could have wisdom, as soon as we have beautiful mental states, we will all be enlightened already, because wisdom will increase, and naturally it was just a matter of time. And in the sense of bad, we will be locked in what, if we fall down onto one of these lower realms, it will be impossible to go out, because it will be just dosa. So there is a way, it is locked, but it again will happen here. If those beings feel rejoice in their previous good actions or have some light, they can come out, and we can also increase to higher realms. It is moving.
Yes,
This is moving. Yes, Charana.
If you want to later on check the notes or make a little revision, then you can go back to the types of citas. Those are ahetuka, akusala vipaka, rootless, unwholesome, resultant consciousness. And you can see the list there. It's quite interesting. If you still remember, then those akusala vipaka result is only the five senses: eye consciousness, ear, smell, taste, touch, and then receiving consciousness and investigating consciousness. Only 7 types of consciousness are akusala vipaka, and they are all rootless, and they all associate with upekkha feeling. Now, in the side of the kusala vipaka, which is wholesome resultant consciousness, there are divided into 2 types. One type are rootless, which are basically similar with those of the akusala. So eye, ear, nose, smell, taste. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, touch, and then the receiving is associated with upekkha. And only investigating are 2, so 8 of them. One is associated with somanassa, and another associated with vipaka. Now, as we have seen just now, that those investigating consciousness, santirana, that arises with somanassa, arises when the object is very agreeable. Yes, we just saw it like two slides ago.
Yes.
And also, this is rootless. Now, rootless, wholesome resultant, and there are also resultant that are associated with roots also. Those are the ones that give rebirth as a human being, or as a deva, or as into the good planes. No, so good result happens in 2 ways: with roots or without roots. Then those without root, those akusala and wholesome is always without roots only.
Okay.
Yes. Just as a reminder, dear family, remember that we are making a degree on the engineering of consciousness. After looking at this, we are really looking at the small details, and all of these will be applied onto practice for our hopeful liberation. So, but just as a reminder, we are looking at the mind. Sometimes we may say, why all these details? It's just engineering of consciousness. Later on, when someone asks you what consciousness is, well, they will need a few months or years for you will be able to explain. I know what consciousness is, and I really hope that science gets more interested in all this information because they're looking about the same thing. I really hope that they are taking into account all the masters and generations of monks have been studying, putting into practice, experimenting, and proven. So very interesting. Remember, we are doing a master degree in consciousness for in case we wanted to do something. Yes, Jarana.
Now, as we have seen right now, and also Bante mentioned, it is interesting to know how the working of nature. Because see, if a person is born into a lower realm, then if his rebirth consciousness, if it is associated with any kind of bad roots, actually I asked Seado this question before. I said, so if a person, a human being, is born with good roots, with aloba and adosa minimum, sometimes with amoha also, with wisdom also possible, then if it is kusala vipaka, then how come those akusala vipaka does not associate with bad roots? No, then it should be, no. But then the teachers explains that they do not associate with roots because they themselves is like a base, no. So those beings are born without roots. If they are born with bad roots, then they have no chance to come out of those bad situations because already they were born with bad qualities, and so dosa or moha all the time, then in those cases not possible. But for a human being, kusala is more powerful, so it can produce result with roots, with beautiful roots. So that's why a human being, like all of us here, surely is born with a rebirth consciousness with aloba and adosa minimum. And very probably also amoha is also possible. Three types and three roots, no? So in this case, if a person is with good roots, then he has more possibility to grow in quality and he can go higher and higher and higher. So therefore, there are this possibility for human beings.
We are lucky already. But it's not
also, some human beings are born with rootless also. If they are kusala, that happens in the moments of death, that bring the rebirth consciousness is not strong enough. Also, some human beings, they can be born with ahetuka, with rootless rebirth consciousness. So in those cases, most of the time, there will be some kind of disability, mental or physical.
Unfortunately. So that's the explanation, for example, when we say, Shadow, why people born with autism and something like this? It is very probable that those people had enough credit to become a human being, but not enough credit to become a clear-minded, let's so to say, not to put it down, or fully functioning, although they have different kinds of abilities at the same time. But it is not in terms of a standard general middle point. They have some different kind of needs, especially. Yes.
Okay, so shall we continue?
Oh, you want to take a tea? What time is it? You want to take a little tea?
Yeah, take a tea. Yes.
How is it? Time, my dear family.
It's 8:27.
8:27. How we feel? It's up to you.
Yeah.
Want to take a break? No? No one. Okay, we have warriors here. Abhidhamma warriors. Yes, Mama. Huh?
Okay, so let's go ahead. I think we can continue, and if we finish earlier, then you feel free to take
Yes.
tea and have a little chat among each other. Now, so about tadārammaṇa until here, let's again keep it in the mind, and then we will go to another section about feelings, and then we will come back. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, now, so let's go to see a little bit about domanassa, upekkha, and somanassa. So according to nature of mental feeling, Bante, please press. Then, from if with chitta that associates with upekkha, then if the next chitta that comes after it is associated with domanassa or is associated with somanassa, naturally it's quite okay, no? Because it's neutral, then he can change to domanassa and he can change to somanassa. There is not much problem, yeah. But One more, please, press. But if the chitta that is a previous chitta is with Domanassa and immediately it wants to change to Domanassa, then it's quite a little jump there. No? So in this case, it is not possible. Yes?
When you are driving the car, when you are going in 5th speed, generally you come to neutral and then you brake with motor, no? Dun, 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 dun. The mind, if you jump from 1 to 5, the car is always shaking. The same happens with the mind going up or down. It cannot directly change from anger to happiness. So it must have something in between to buffer it, and then you will see it now.
Now, as an example, I also thought if we compare it with water, then upeka, if it is upeka is water, then it can change into ice or it can change into steam from water, yes? But from ice to steam immediately is not possible. So it must go through. So it is quite, in nature, it's quite impossible for things to, from one moment to another moment, to change that way.
It might do it very, very quickly, but definitely before getting steam, the ice will melt for a little while and then become steam to start going up. Very good example, Cherna.
So in mental feeling, since the mind is also part of nature, so it does not jump, so it does not go not in accordance with nature. Also the mind goes in accordance with nature, so we can quite easily understand that from upeka it's okay for to change to domanassa, or from upeka to somanassa. But remember, now we are saying changing, but it does not mean that in the same chitta that the mental feeling can change. It's just that one chitta that is associated with domanassa cannot, let's say, cannot be followed immediately by another chitta that is followed by somanassa. Okay? Now, in the case, now we go back to tadārammaṇa, okay? Now, if the object is undesirable, we have already seen that this tadārammaṇa will arise with neutral feeling. Yes? Okay, one more. If the object is agreeable, then the tadārammaṇa in the mental process will arise also with neutral feeling. It's okay, it's an averagely agreeable object.
Fine.
Okay, now again, if the object is a very agreeable object, then the tadārammaṇa is going to arise with somanassa. Yeah? Okay, now we have already seen that, please one more, Bhante. Now we have already seen that in the jhāvana, since it is not fixed, so it is possible that a person react to
that object, bad
disagreeable object,
yes,
with different kinds of reaction. Oh, now we have, when we were talking about the somanassa and domanassa and upeka in the jhāvana, we have not finished and we jumped because we talked about something else. Let's go back a little bit.
This is precisely...
Okay, so in the jhāvanas, it is possible somanassa when it is kusala possible, no? So akusala and loba also possible, no? So how about if, what kind of chittas that can arise in the jhāvana can associate with domanassa?
Dosa mula.
Dosa mula chitta only, no? No other things. Okay. So how about upeka? What kind of chitta can arise in jhāvana stage that can associate with upeka?
Many.
Yes, so let's name it. Then where all kind of kusala possible with upeka. Then 8 mahawipaka, no? Then also there's loba mula also possible, no? Loba also can associate for loba mula with upeka also possible, no? Then dosa not possible. Then moha also possible, no?
Yes.
With upeka feeling.
Yes. Most of
Okay.
them.
So in this case, let's take a look. If it is from, since tadārammaṇa is neutral here, then there is no problem. Yes, because somanassa jhāvana change to follow
upeka
directly by a upeka tadārammaṇa, no problem. Then if it is domanassa jhāvana, then followed by a upeka tadārammaṇa, no problem, no? Then upeka jhāvana followed by tadārammaṇa, upeka, no problem. Okay, yeah, so here is no problem. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
Wait, Charana, just a little bit. To have a bad smell And experience somanasa, that's the experience of eating blue cheese, for example. Aku salah wipaka gana winyana, and then you're really, if you like it, you're really happy about blue cheese. Not in the case of charana. I get that one a lot. Wow, smell this. Yes, Charana, go ahead.
Yes. So yes, we can react with different kind of, even it is a disagreeable object, but because our sanya is perverted, so we can think that it's very nice, or we can think that it is very bad. And no, I mean, blue cheese
no le
is
arregle,
not
no le
something
arregle, Charana, no le arregle, ya
because
dijo.
it's good food, no? It doesn't kill you. So some people can react to it with lobha, with somanasta, or it can react with lobha. It's okay, and with upeka, also possible. And somebody can react to it with dosa. It's not so bad. Or somebody can react to it with upeka. Also, it's not bad, but it's okay. Or with lobha, it's okay. Also possible. So all kind of combination is possible. Or a person also can react with kusala, also possible, no? Or very thankful for having food, or with somanasa also possible, with upeka also possible. So all kinds of possibility.
Yes.
So that's why it is so powerful, no? Javana. This is depend on us. Anything can happen. Now the next one, let's see about agreeable object. In the same way, since tadārammaṇa, it happens with upeka, with an agreeable object. So basically, it's like the disagreeable object. So no problem. We can react with lobha, dosa, moha, or we can react with kusala that associate with all kinds of feelings. No problem here also. No. Okay. Now let's go to a very agreeable object. Now with a very agreeable object, since the tadārammaṇa is associated with somanasa. Now here we might have some kind of problem. If we react with somanasa javanas, then that's quite okay, somanasa to somanasa. But if we react with domanasa here, then we have already said the domanasa cannot directly be followed by tadārammaṇa, which is somanasa. That's not possible, no? Now, okay, let's see. For upeka to somanasa, it's okay.
Fine.
Yes. So now we have a little problem here.
This is a
with
problem.
domanasa.
Yes.
Yes?
So nature
Okay,
does
let's go
something
to another
amazing.
slide.
You will see what nature does when it faces problems like that. Amazing.
Okay, so if the object is very agreeable in the five sense door process, then sorry, this is just a little bit repetition with photo, no? So from steam to steam, somanasa to somanasa, it's okay. Next, from upeka, from water to steam, that's quite okay. Then another one. Then from ice, from domanasa to somanasa, immediately is not possible, that we have seen already. Okay, now let's see in another slide, please. Okay, so if one reacted with domanasa, then somanasa tadārammaṇa cannot arise. So what is going to happen is, one more please, is that in this case, tadārammaṇa will not arise at all.
Toma.
Because it is not possible for a somanasa tadārammaṇa to follow a domanasa javana. So in this case, if it is a very agreeable object, if a person gets angry with it, then tadārammaṇa will not arise. Then it will just go back, one more please, then go back just to bhavanga immediately. Now,
upeka.
if the bhavanga, yes, with upeka feeling. Now, one more please, if the person's bhavanga is with upeka feeling, then it's okay, no problem.
Born with upeka.
And
You remember, you can born with somanasa. You have in your bhavanga, you have a sense of happiness, or you can have upeka. So in the case the person has born with upeka already in their patisandhi, in their rebirth linking consciousness, then
Do you remember then upek and then the rebirth consciousness, patisandhi, and bhavanga and chuti, the death consciousness, they are all the same kind. Remember, if you're born with upeka, patisandhi, rebirth consciousness, then all the bhavanga throughout the life that arises will also be with upeka feeling. No, the chuti, the death consciousness also will be with the upeka feeling. No, so that comes depending on what kind of chitta that one is born with. So in this case, if a person is born with Upeka Patisandi, rebirth consciousness associated with neutral feeling, then there's no problem. Then Domanassa happens, tadārammaṇa does not arise, then immediately it goes back to Bhavanga stream. That's okay, yes?
Yes, fine.
No problem. Then one more. Then in the case of a person that is born with a Somanassa Patisandi, so his or her Bhavanga is also going to be Somanassa. So in this case, we've got problem again, because now with Domanassa, it cannot be followed immediately by a Somanassa. Okay? So what happens here is this concept is that what is called a guest Bhavanga here in Pali is called Agantuka Bhavanga is going to arise. Because of nature. So what is this guest Bhavanga is actually one chitta that is performing the Bhavanga function, but it is actually in this case Kusala Vipaka Santirana with Upeka feeling. So before it goes back to Bhavanga, so as a buffer, like after Domanassa, then this guest Bhavanga, which is Kusala Vipaka Santirana with Upeka feeling, is going to arise before the normal Bhavanga stream arises, so that it can goes back to its normal state.
Yes, nature will borrow something. Okay, finish, then it can flow. Otherwise, it locks down. Remember, it's microscopically. The mind always finds a way. When you throw an object, it never comes directly down or it jumps up immediately. As much as it goes down, as much as it falls down. Nature always has this kind of sense of naturality of it.
Flow.
We know flow. It must flow, and it finds a way to accommodate itself. Yes, Charana?
Yes, so in this case, so just one little detail, which is not so important, but it's quite interesting, that if you remember, if you don't, it was no problem. Remember what kind of object Bhavanga takes?
Kama nimita, gati nimita. You remember whatever you got in the previous life, if you saw where were you going, sign of destination, or for example, if you remember when you were doing good about someone and you remember the tool you used to do it, that will be like the object that it will be taking. Yes, Carito.
Yes, very good, very good. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so
there are some
now
people
in
with
this
good
case,
memory in this world. There are some people. Yes.
Huh? What happened?
I say that in this world there exist some people with good memory. I wish.
Like Karo.
I wish God. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So that's why sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Also
Okay.
we practice as more as we look in the next round, or when people ask something, the mind starts getting. I mean, there are some people who need. Some of us need more reminders. Yes. Yes, Charana.
Okay. So Bhavanga takes kama nimita, gati nimita as its object. Yes. So how about these jhavanas here? What kind of object does it take?
Here.
In this case. The very agreeable object, no?
Yes, the previous one. This one.
This one, no? Because we are reacting to this very agreeable object, no? So now the funny thing is that what happened with this guest Bhavanga? What kind of object does it take? Yes, because it's just like a borrowed one suddenly has to arise, but it doesn't really have to do with the agreeable object, nor does it have to do with kama nimita, no gati nimita. So this gas Bhavanga actually is quite interesting. It takes an object that the mind is very used to. So an object that is very familiar with, in a random object. Like if the mind always think about, always take that object, then very randomly, this gas Bhavanga, in this case, it will take that similar, very familiar object that very easily comes to the mind. It takes that object, happens once and then pass away, and then the natural flow of Bhavanga happens again.
Interesting. It would be like a muleta. How you say? How you say in English? Muleta?
Like
Like a cane, like un bastón, or like a
yes.
muletas. So it will take that object. It needs something to hold. So it will take whatever object. A little bit like it reminds a little bit like dream. Dreams take objects randomly. Whatever the mind is already having some activity, and it starts just doing like when you are in the night touching the how you say the
Night table.
your table beside that you don't know where are the glasses or the phone, whatever you leave there is like so the mind will just grab objects and be touching something but without much attention or consciousness about it.
Yes, because every cheetah must have an object to arise, no? So this is just an extra information. Okay, so let's go.
Question, Charana, ding ding ding.
But can you
Yes.
give an example? Like what type of things?
Can you give an example of what kind of objects can be taken by the Agantuka Bawanga? That's
What can it be? It can be, in this case, surely it's a mind door object because it is not an eye door object. It is not a sight. It's not a sound.
It's happening.
It's not a smell. Not. It can be, but it is not the present object. Now, if it is a sight, if it is a sound or something, it's something that is past already. Not the present object that we are taking, because only I consciousness take the present I object. No. So in this case, it's only something in the mind. It could be a concept, or it could be anything that is the mind can be very familiar with.
I dare to say that it will be one that we are attached to. It is much easier to get something that we think constantly about, that will be based on attachment. I will say that Loba will have something to do with it.
No.
We can check.
Loba does not have anything to do here because Loba only happens in Java. This is a Vipaka object, so not exactly Loba will not happen there, but it could be a object of Loba.
Yes, Charana, but before the Javanas will be taking the thing. So whichever the Javanas have carved the deepest, then the mind will take. Not with the Loba thing, but whatever attachment we have on this area, I think it will be the most handy, the most used one, the most at hand, the one that the mind will reach first. That's why I'm saying, I dare to say, let's check with Cielo this Friday.
It's a pivot.
Yes, let's ask Cielo.
It's a?
Un pivote, no?
Like, it's un pivote. It's just waiting and it touch. It's the joker. The joker of the,
Yeah.
It would be like a joker. Oh, you get it, and then you do whatever you need, whatever was at hand. Later, I suppose desire. I wish it was wisdom, but the mind is going to Bawanga, hopefully. But
Well,
yes.
we cannot say exactly because it's just an object that is very familiar with the mind. So most of the time, as Bante said, I also agree that most of the time the mind is familiar with something that it likes, no? So it is possible also.
what we don't like, we
but
don't
let's say if
remember.
a person, he
generally.
used to practice Anapana all the time, like the Buddha, he always practiced Anapana, then also possible, then he might take the breath, and also possible. So whatever the mind does most habitually, then it's easy for the mind to get that kind of object.
We remember
Could be a
objects that we
concept,
like or
could be
dislike
anything.
mostly. The neutral ones, we don't remember them. Yes, Charana.
Okay, so we'll ask Cielo, let's see what example he gives, that will be interesting, and then later we will come.
Friday, next Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now let's then go a little bit ahead. One more. Now, in the case of a person who is born with a Somanasa Patisandhi, so all his or her Bawanga is going to be associated with Somanasa, no? All these Bawanga is going to be associated with Bawanga. Therefore, for this kind of person, whatever object it may be, even not very agreeable, it could be undesirable or it could be normally agreeable or very agreeable, whatever happens, if dosa ever arise in his or her mind,
All the
then
time.
it is not possible for the Javana associated with Domanasa to directly jump to
Bawanga.
Bawanga with Somanasa, no? So therefore, yes, please.
So a person who borns with
So in
Somanasa
this
will
case-
be borrowing a lot. Every time he gets angry, he will need that buffer to change.
So all the time for such a person, for the person whose Bhavanga Chitta is associated with Somanasa, then whenever Domanasa arrives, then yes, Bhavanga is also going to arise.
But can I borrow something again? Can I borrow your thing again? Every time you get angry, if we have it.
Yes. Okay. So, yes, please, Bante.
Yes.
Yes. So for mind or process, it's also the same. Yeah. So, or not only mind.
5 cents.
5 cents or process, mind or process also, but also sometimes yes, this case is when tadārammaṇa does not arise. No, when tadārammaṇa arises, then in the case for akusala vipaka, I mean for undesirable object and for normally agreeable object, since tadārammaṇa is upeka, is with upeka feeling. So if a person he reacts with dosa, but then tadārammaṇa arises, then it is already upeka there, so there is no problem. Then guess bhavanga does not need to arise, but only in the case when tadārammaṇa does not arise. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so it's quite interesting about the. Okay, since we have already go to this slide. So this is interesting on to see how the mind happens, no? How nature works. So as Bante said, we are now looking at the microscopic way of how the Buddha explained with so much detail, so clearly, how the mind arises and passes away. So we can really relate and understand that it is only a natural process. We do not do anything to invite the guest bhavanga, or we don't need to do anything we don't even know that it exists, and we didn't know that how it works. So it's really not me, it's just a natural process that happens. So this is really the Abhidhamma, the explanation about mind and matter. It's really all about how this mind and matter works and how it is without the self, how it is just a natural process.
That's why the Buddha
that's why it is important to know.
To know that it is just a natural process that is doing its job, and the more confident and more accustomed we get to it, the more we will have possibilities to understand that nature is just happening. Not me. We are not borrowing nothing. We are not really doing nothing for it to happen. So this is where it is going to the understanding of anatta. Non-self, no soul, not me, not I, not mine. It's just nature happening, although it tricks us. We are tricked on it.
One more, please. So all this is about how nature works, and nature has its own law. So water always goes down, no, it never goes up. So it is just the way of how nature works. The mind also is part of nature. So the process of the mind and of matter. About matter, we're going to look at it at chapter 6. So about mind and matter, how everything works is just a natural process. One more, please. So it's also not different from what is happening inside. Okay, so until here, I think that's quite enough for today. And so if you have any questions, then we can have a few minutes of questions or comments. Then otherwise, we will stop here, and then we will continue, as we have said already, with a very interesting theme. Next week, we're going to look at supernormal powers, Abhidhamma, which are being developed by very concentrated mind, and which is actually in Pali called direct knowledge, no, Abhidhamma. And those processes, what happens, like how it happens. And in those mental process, when a person who already has this power, when he wants to perform this this kind of let's say miraculous actions, like what happened there in the mind. And also we are going to look at probably Nirodha Samapatti, as Fernando was asking. That is the temporary cessation of all kinds of chitta and citasikas also.
Yeah, we will look at what kind of things a human mind, like the one we are carrying, can do when it is developed to the utmost. Wow. You will see that matter, we have to talk about it a little bit before, matter really changed, it can be modified, elements from one another, walls have not much meaning, air and weight and gravity has not so much a grip. So it becomes really, really interesting. And all these notions, like the ones they say that meditator levitating or such, apparently is possible for a human mind. When it is so light, then matter starts, because as we have seen, matter is influencing, mind is influencing matter. So when mind gets really light, actually when we are happy, we feel physically lighter. We are faster to do things, we are ready to serve. And when a person is depressed, he can literally cannot stand up from the bed. Literally, so much, or negativity or pessimism. Even the body feels like this, but the body is the same. When he was happy, he was jumping. So it does. We will see all that. Okay, my dear family. Questions, comments? No questions, no comments. What do we bring home then? That's very beautiful. When we close with that way, it's very. We get the essence. What did we saw? What did caught the attention? What is interesting, beautiful, inspiration, or sheer doubt, or skepticism? Open anything. Yes, Don Diego.
The reminder that whatever the mind gets, it's actually neutral, and it's ourselves that we decide to make it something bad or something good, to take it like kusala or akusala we can do after what we receive. Was very inspiring. Inspiring,
isn't it? Because it's really a hopeful, and we get responsibility. If I suffer, it's because I'm making suffering, because even if it's unpleasant, it's coming neutral. So that is really hopeful. Yes, I also feel with this point very inspiring. It's like the first time I listen, wow, actually it's all my responsibility. It's all our responsibility. If we suffer, it's because what we do with neutrality. So can we complain about life? Man, it really gives, yes, Don Digas. Something else about on that line?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very, very beautiful.
Yes, it was beautiful.
And how do you feel? Yes, and how do you feel about this hope? What kind of hope? How do you feel it? Do you see ways of implementing it? How do you feel about the hope?
You can implement it on everything that the mind gets, because now if you remember, whatever the minds get, you have the choice to make it into kusala or akusala.
Yes.
So it's our responsibility.
Very, very beautiful. Sadhu, sadhu. Big sadhu. Big sadhu. Something else. ¿Quién más? Go ahead, my dear family. Casita.
Yeah, for me it was really interesting and kind of shocking to see how sometimes we receive very agreeable objects.
Yes.
And even though we kind of decide to react with negativity, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of shocking to listen to that and remember. And for me it's a useful tool to try to not react that way, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes it's kind of what we choose to do with the objects, even if they are very agreeable. No?
Yes. Again, a responsibility, no? Like,
Yeah.
no?
We have.
Nature is just showing itself. Thank you, Casita.
The flow of nature, to say in a way, is not like making kind of a strange jump anywhere, you know, like as you show us this borrowed bhagwanga that allows kind of decompress from one step to another, and it always follows a direction. It's like a pendulum that it needs to lose momentum before going back to another place. It's beautiful because nature is like that, and we can experience that in our everyday lives when we feel any emotion. If we get angry, for example, driving and someone invades our lane or something, and that happens to me very often, unfortunately, but I can connect with anger in that moment, but then before I can feel joy again,
Happiness again.
or happiness, I need to feel like in a kind of a neutral position.
Yes.
and then the same happens with happy and before
Before angry,
before angry. So it's nice to see that mind works in that way, but we can push can try to divert the direction of these emotions and help the mind to go in a
the
virtuous
nature,
way. Yeah.
nature to get there. We cannot be angry and immediately want to be happy. Now we know it's not possible.
Yeah.
So we must flow in the ways of nature. First slow down,
Yeah.
and then you can change. You put neutral and then you put reverse or something. Otherwise the machine will
Yeah.
if going forward or something. So we can be very reassuring to know that nature is doing its job and it never jumps something. I also feel this sense, and also I feel inspiring what you are saying. We can bring this very small microscopic movement of nature into an instruction of practice. I know I cannot jump from suffering to happiness, so I need to go first to neutral. So I'm not forcing, oh, I'm angry, I want to be happy, I'm angry, I want to be happy, because I'm already forcing nature onto something that it cannot do. It is not possible for it to become steam from ice. So let's cool it down. So it is already giving a way of being, a way of dealing with suffering. I don't think no one wants to go from happiness to suffering, but if going from suffering to happiness, we know we must cool down first, put neutral, and then, yes, what you were talking. And for example, in a relation with someone, if it is difficult, I know already we follow the laws of nature. Let's cool down, talk about something neutral before we go to happiness. We will not force anybody onto saying, like I did maybe with Charana. You can say Charana when we were, if it was something wrong, you go and what happened? No, I know something happened. So you start kind of pulling, and that actually you are forcing nature. It becomes often worse. So let's cool down. Nobody talk. Okay, 5 minutes. Ding, ding, ding. Go to your corner. Then yes, now we can talk, and it's very easy. Oh, very beautiful, very beautiful. Someone else?
Me gustó lo que dijo Diego y también de ahí la importancia del mindfulness. Todo el día.
Try to keep mindfulness as much as possible. Can you remind us what Diego were saying? What touched you?
Sí. Que aunque la naturaleza recibamos las
nature
cosas
give
de una forma neutral, nosotros la podemos tomar bien o mal o
this is shocking. Yes, it is really shocking.
See,
It
yes,
is like,
exactly.
yes.
So without mindfulness, we just react with our habitual reaction, whether good or bad. So as Maru said, yes, really important, because without mindfulness, then we have no chance, no choice. Then we just react. So, but with mindfulness, then we can choose how we want to react and to remember, no? Then actually, this is a chance to plant good seeds or bad seeds.
Yeah, this is really assuring. Yes, Charana. This is really assuring because nature is just showing it herself. It's just there. Here it is neutrally. No one punishing us. So really, it also carries a lot of responsibility. Now we cannot complain. Nature is neutral. What we do with it is the mess. Yes. Thank you, Manu. Yes, Fer. Gracias, sí. Thank you. Fer, you were saying something? Nancy, Marifer, también Lupita, si están ahí, si gustan, adelante, ¿eh?
Yeah, Vante, I just want to comment that I've been thinking lately of the mind. Well, a mathematical description of the mind. And it is like a discrete function with like certain specific values for every moment. And those are like associated with a probability function that has to do with our actions come. And it makes a lot of sense. Many physical processes are described that way. And it is amazing that the mind is also a process like that.
Oh.
And just what I wanted to comment.
Oh, Fer, I would love I'm really curious for you to explain a little bit more about these functions of mathematical functions that you can, because I just to give us some context, Fer is a scientist, and it's specialized on quantum and physics, no, Fer? And quantum and also, if I'm not energy, no? Isn't it?
Well, I studied nuclear engineering. And
Nuclear engineering.
And also, and that I've been familiar with how the neutrons, protons, and electrons work to emit some radiations.
Oh, Fair, I'm dying for you to guide one session making the parallels between quantum mechanics and protons and electrons and the mathematical models to show, because I am sure you having that background and listening the descriptions of the Buddha on how nature works, and as you are saying right now, to be honest, I could follow 10% of or 20% of what you say now about the mathematical equations who has these possibilities. I know a little bit about quantum mechanics, about that physics, so I can imagine. So I'm really wishing that hopefully, if you wish to give a more depth explanation on those mathematical equations, so we can see and feel the certainty that science is also understanding reality as the Buddha experienced directly. So I would say it will give a lot of sense of assurance or faith, even, because it is proven nature has this kind of movements. What else can you say about it? Like, in order to enlighten us a little bit more in layman's terms, to get it in a more common example. What do you see?
Well, just to clarify, I'm not versed on quantum mechanics. It's just the physical description of some processes.
Yes.
But there are functions that have a certain value for an instant, and they are called discrete because it's not continuous. The variation is not continuous. It's like they jump from one state to another.
Yes.
But those every value in time could be influenced by certain function of probability. Like, it's more probable to have this value than other value, but you can get the other one.
Yes, possible.
So when I was studying this, I thought of the mind that you have cheetah after cheetah that is like a discrete event, this one after another.
Yes.
And then you have the possibility of having some formation based on karma, and I associate karma like with some probability. If you plant good seeds, you have more probability to get good.
Good results. Actually,
good results.
Yes.
Or good, good things in the sense sphere.
Yes.
So it is I think this can be formulated mathematically. Well, it needs some thought and some development, but
please do it. Please do it. Please do it. Please, and explain us.
Yeah, one can see the similarities, and it's really awesome to explore that. The likeness of something that is from mathematics to a description of of how the mind works.
Yes, actually, as scientists have said, mathematics is the language of God. They have said so. Mathematics is the language of nature, not God. I mean, we'll get into trouble. But yes, mathematics, we can describe it. I really wish to have this course in a mathematical way. I will sign up. I hope we can follow, but it will be very interesting. Fair, I really encourage you to start thinking more about it, and if you get some simple things that can inspire all of us based on scientific understanding and proof, I am really for it. I'm already jumping inside.
Yes, that could be very interesting.
Yes.
But I'll try to focus on working on something like that.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you, Fer, thank you. I will be waiting. We will be waiting. Yes, thank you. Somebody else before we close it. Yes.
But just a quick question. So the 5 hindrances, we could say that the 5 hindrances always happen in javanas.
Yes. It's the only
Yes.
in the only active side of the mind. All the other part will be vipaka. It's just a fruit of the 5 hindrances if we did them, like desire, aversion, whatever. But it will always happen in the javanas. It's the only place in the human mental process and in the consciousness that we can do something about. All the other things that we see, the tadārammaṇa and the bhavangas, not to say, it's just nature doing its job. So we only have that window. That's why it's so important to know what we can do, our possibilities, and start steering the mind, getting the reins of the mind and start steering it onto a good destination based on mindfulness and hopefully wisdom beside accompanying, so we start taking better decisions in our mental activity. Yes. Something to add, Charana?
No, yes, as Bante said, only in Javana is the only time that we do something.
Yes. That's present. That's the present. The other thing we can say is related to the past. So it's our past giving fruit, and what I do with that fruit is the new fruits that I'm making. So it is like a snake eating the tail in time, through time. Interesting. Yes. Something else, dears? Okay, my dear family, thank you so much. It's very inspiring to see that always we manage a way to bring to the ground and make it a practical instruction, as we have spoken right here about using this inspiration and knowing that nature is neutral. Whatever we do with it, let's see what we experiment. And well, let's close today, and I want, in this mood, now that we are all together, I wish to inform you that I'm the plane is ready already, so I'm leaving next Monday, from tomorrow next Monday. So next class, Charana, I don't know if it's going, it's not going, I'm not sure if next class is going to be possible to be done in this way, because I'm leaving on Monday, I hope. So let's keep it open, and then we will inform you. And I have to be very honest and tell you that it has not been a smooth ride, this chapter for me. It has been quite challenging in many ways, because there are many things moving. To start with, life is changing dramatically, but we know life changed, nature changed. So we need to focus our energy and do whatever is first. So you can imagine the attachment in the monastery now, living there and looking, opening the window and looking like that, knowing that it has not been. But this is also showing how attachment was there without already hidden. Now it's really showing, because you can say, no, I'm not attached. Yes, just take it away and you will see. So it's showing, and actually it has mini, the way I'm taking it is the mini version of the practice. If we wish to leave the smaller happiness for the greater happiness, which will be brought up by wisdom, and there is no doubt that we are going to be more in touch with wisdom than staying here. Here we will just develop in the way that we are. But there we will have a guidance, one of the best quality guidance available in the world right now. So how to do? So I see the whole thing as a metaphor, or not a metaphor, a direct rehearsal. If we wish to liberate from the world, because I can stay in a comfort zone, in a beautiful place, 5-star monastery, because that's what it is. Yes, it's beautiful, the place is beautiful, the forest is beautiful, or pursue wisdom. So now the phrase that is helping me is spiritual over worldly. That is what is really giving, and to be very honest, this is not really a decision. I'm really trusting in many of you as friends, because no one has said different. Everybody we know is obvious. You go. but it has not been very easy, and I'm really taking kind of a leap of confidence or faith. I'm trusting more to see my own mother saying everything. Today in the car, right now before coming, she turns to me and she said, everything is fine, isn't it? Wow, my own mother, imagine, you don't think she wants me to stay? Of course, but then she turns and says, everything is fine. And I say, why, Ma? And then she says, because of the decision you made. I say, well, that's, life is kind of deciding, but she's fine with it. And then I say, how can I not trust? So life is giving a new lesson. To be very honest, I have never been in my life in this situation before, when I'm just trusting. So I trust. I trust in the Dhamma, I trust in the teachers. We're in very good hands. I don't know, as any of us actually know, never what's going to happen. But if everything works out, when we return, I'm sure we will bring many fruits that will benefit all of us. So, well, my dear family, I just want to be very honest and open and tell you humanly that life often... You think Vipaka has nothing to do? You think Kama has nothing to do? Nature wants to arrive when it wants to arrive. Pero nos pone a bailar. La vida te da sorpresas. Esa voy a ir cantando en la aeropuerto. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. ¿Dónde está su monasterio, mijo, tan bonito? La vida te da sorpresas. Vámonos, señores y señores. Porque ya tocaba. And maybe we don't return as well. And who, please make best use of it. I mean, it's what to do. What to do. We appreciate all our teachers and the Buddha himself for giving all this information. Obviously there is much more to be explored, and hopefully we have time, energy and health to be able to explore it, and most importantly to apply it for our own benefit, the benefit of our family, the benefit of all beings. That is why we are doing this. This, my dear family, even it is difficult, let's never lose the focus that this can be an act of love. Wanting to preserve this valuable information, it will be an act of love for further generations, an act of love in our own lives too, because the aim for all of this understanding is to develop to the utmost our most beautiful, our beauty, inner beauty, our most beautiful qualities. So hopefully we have the ability to really translate all these numbers and all these possibilities onto goodness, service, altruism, compassion. May all beings be benefited by the wisdom of the great teachers. May we be skillful to bring it to a tangible, felt and experiential level. Thank you everyone for being together in this journey. We will continue trying. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Idano punyam nipanasa pacheyo hotu. Idano punyam nipanasa pacheyo hotu. Idano punyam nipanasa pacheyo hotu. Compartimos con todos los seres, especialmente aquellos que sufren más que nosotros, que son billones y billones. Idano punyam sabhasatanam vajimam. Idano punyam sabhasatanam vajimam. Idano punyam sabhasatanam vajimam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Charana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Charana.
Thank you, thank you.